Praise to you, O Christ. Let us spend some time with our first reading from the first letter of St. John, chapter 3, from verses 7 to 10. This passage speaks strikingly about what it means to be marked by the truth, to belong to God. My children, do not let anyone lead you astray. To live a holy life is to be holy just as God is holy. To lead a sinful life is to belong to the devil, since the devil was a sinner from the beginning. As if Psalm 1 is repeated with the two options in life, the way of life and the way which leads to death and destruction. It's not about fatalism or to see things in black and white. It just shares us with the experience of the Eucharist, the same experience with which we have who receive the Blessed Eucharist on a regular basis, on a daily basis or on Sundays. If we faithfully follow our Lord just by listening to His words, engaging His words, receiving His body and blood, His person, His friendship, the risen Lord, then our mindset is attuned to God's vision of the world. And those of us who went through the Advent preparation, and now when we are in the Christmas season, we have this intense experience of sharing God's sentiments, as it were. This is a sharing of God's mindset. And our experience is that within this medium of God's presence, teaching and healing presence, our world, its ways are unmasked, and certain commandments or demands surface while reading and listening to the Gospel. I would call them categorical imperatives. And our first categorical imperative is peace. Peace for the world. Stop all the wars. The second, equally important imperative, of which Pope Francis spoke in yesterday's reading from Evangelii Gaudium, is God's mercy. That the first among the virtues, according to St. Thomas Aquinas, is mercy, being merciful. And this is the precondition of peace. So, when we receive the Holy Communion, whenever we are attending Mass, regardless of our family circumstances, just let us be ready to this demand for peace. And that clarity of mindset, which shows us clearly that wars must end. But we also, as Christians, are called to see that if the world is in such a state, it's a consequence. If the politicians, in whose power it is to put an end to wars, don't make this effort, it means it's a consequence. Their heart is distracted. To use harsher words, their heart, their moral integrity is compromised. And just think of the news of a certain list. It doesn't really matter. But unfortunately, you can see celebrity names, big names, previous crucial or future decision makers. And we shouldn't think that that circle of sin and egoism ends with this list. So when there is a war, when we don't obey the imperative of peace, when all politicians and decision makers don't kneel in front of this imperative to put an end to war, it means that their moral integrity is compromised. And all of us, starting with them, need God's mercy.